How to Argue with a Cat. Chapter 4. Fit in with the clan. The box maneuver. Practice perfect decorum. People often think of persuasion as a kind of battle, even if it's a friendly battle. Word fact. Debate comes from the same Latin word as battle. But every cat owner has been persuaded by a cat, and not one cat has ever persuaded through debate. Instead, the cat uses different tools. One of them is decorum. We think of decorum as proper grammar, or good manners, such as holding your pinky out when you use the can opener. The thing is, what is good manners for one group may be terrible manners for another. Throw a pool party for dogs and they will declare you Saint Bernard. Throw a pool party for cats and, well, that's just rude. For many cats, it is polite to put them up on your shoulders. For most dogs, not so polite. The same goes for people. Slapping a teammate on the butt after a goal might be perfectly acceptable, while slapping a business partner on the butt, not so. But are we talking just about manners here? No. Decorum is more than the rules that make you seem polite. It also has to do with whether your audience finds you agreeable. In fact, decorum comes from the Latin word for fitness, as in fitting in. Every animal and human thrives when it fits perfectly in its environment. Decorum means fitting into a social environment. It's true that decorum depends on politeness, but politeness means being considerate. It means taking into account other people's attitudes and feelings. Some cultures consider it good manners to eat with your hands. If you are invited to dinner with these people, should you insist on a fork and knife? Or worse, insist that everybody else use a fork and knife? Not if you want to practice decorum. Grammar ain't for all, y'all. Besides fitting into the manners of other people, decorum means fitting into people's language as well. It's important to learn grammar in school, not because good grammar necessarily makes more sense than bad, or is somehow morally superior, but because learning so-called proper grammar lets you communicate with the elite. Grammar enables a kid who grew up in poverty to speak with kings and CEOs. On the other hand, how should a grandmother who hates rap music speak to young lovers of that music? Grandmother. What if one is conversing with young people for whom proper grammar seems almost a foreign language? That very question might mystify some young people. They may have trouble understanding her. At the very least, this perfectly grammatical sentence would not help Grandma fit in at a rap record label. Fussy, formal grammar can turn off even highly educated people. Winston Churchill once called rules-bound speech the kind that goes to any length to avoid putting a preposition at the end of a sentence, errant pedantry, up with which I will not put. So, how does a grandmother hold a conversation with kids who speak like the lyrics of the songs on their playlists? If she wants to complain about the males in her family leaving toilet lids up, does she say, "Boys be like leaving lids up all the time"? Not unless she usually talks like that. Some grandmothers definitely do talk like that. But don't take our word for it. Ask a cat. Literally, let's have Natalie, who definitely is not a grandmother, ask her cat. Natalie. Charlie, how should I speak to young people who like to pretend they're hip-hop artists? Wait for the answer. Chances are Charlie will wisely say nothing. He will give Natalie a polite look. Charlie is a very decorous cat. And walk away. Or if he does say something, the sentence will not be highly grammatical, but it will be perfectly correct for a cat. The same thing goes with grammar. If you are talking to someone who loves proper grammar, the kind taught in grammar class, then speaking her kind of language makes you fit in. Proper decorum is tricky. You want to avoid appearing to try too hard. For example, a human should never meow at a cat. An animal of a different species expects you to speak like a human. Instead, you want to act the way a good human would act with a cat. Instead of meowing, sit still and let the cat come to you. Cats know that a good sniff at your shoe will tell them volumes. Similarly, a grandmother trying to communicate with teenagers should speak the way teenagers would want a good grandmother to speak, not as a snob, but respectfully. And a teenager should do the same with a well-educated grandmother. How would grandma expect a good teenager to speak? Unstiff thy neck. Tactfulness is another kind of decorum. Hurting people's feelings, even when you are telling the blunt truth, pushes them away from you, none of which really means being yourself. This decorum might even be kind of manipulative. You may prefer the attitude, "This is me, take it or leave it." Admittedly, some cats have this attitude as well. Not every cat is perfect. But adapting to your social environment does not have to mean betraying your true self. Just make sure your true self is not a total stiff-neck. That's in the book of Exodus. God tells Moses that he has taken a gander at Moses' people and is not impressed. "Behold," God says, "they are a stiff-necked people." That means they are unchanging, unadaptable. Don't be so holier than thou, true to yourself, to the point where you fail to adapt to your social environment. You're just a stiff-neck. A great cure for a stiff neck is to pay close attention to the group you're with and to convince yourself that the group pleases you. Another good cure, a neck scratch, working back from behind the ears. Oh, that feels good. But wait, what does all this have to do with persuasion and cats? Remember, persuasion starts with agreeability. To get an agreement, at least one of you has to be agreeable. If your person or cat finds you the right sort, that you fit in, then you're much more likely to get what you want. If your audience thinks you have a stiff neck, then they are more likely to hiss at you or run away and hide. To fit in, a cat does not have to pretend to be a human. He simply has to show how much he enjoys humans. The same goes for you. Instead of trying to speak like a teenager, a grown-up has only to seem to enjoy teenagers. As a cat will show you, this kind of decorum is a lot like purring. The art of the purr. A purr is a two-way rhetorical statement. It says, "I'm happy to be with you," and it also says, "Whatever you're doing, please do more." A purr acts like a kind of drug on us humans, putting us in a docile, manageable state. Cats can use the purr to control us. It works. The good news is that we can do almost as well as a cat, creating effects that work like a purr. First, you should act as though you love to be with your audience. This is true whether you are petting a cat or speaking to a group of humans. Every cat knows that the happy to be with you part of the purr is crucial to getting the extra petting. In rhetoric, this is called ingratiation. It means putting yourself in someone's good graces. We like to call it agreeability. By making yourself agreeable, you make the other person more likely to agree with you. It's like a purr without the rumble in the chest part. Whenever you want something from someone, think to yourself, "I'm happy to be with you." Think this even if it is not exactly true, even if the other people are unpleasant. The interesting thing is, pretending to like people can actually make them more bearable. One reason your cat purrs, it makes you more bearable to the cat. Even people have been known to purr. For example, people who meditate often say the word deep down, getting those vibrations to massage their innards. People enjoying a restaurant's so sinful you're going straight to hell chocolate cake often purr while forking the stuff into their mouths. After all, what is but a messy purr? And what about when we moan during a back rub or, other activities? Right, purring. In a conversation with a cat or a human, try purring rhetorically. Put yourself in a pleasing, ingratiating mood. Skip the rumble, which can be creepy when you're just talking. Leave the actual conversational purr to the feline experts. By changing your mood, you can improve the mood of others. Show pleasure in the relationship before you try to talk people into things. Purr first, then steer. Scientists confirm what cats have known all along. To put someone in the mood to be persuaded, make him feel happy, comfortable, and in control of the situation. A teenager finds herself in dire need of her mother's car. Before she barges up and says, "May I borrow the car?" she should start her mental purr, remembering all the nice things Mom has done for her. Thinking of all the sacrifices Mom made. Thinking what a basically good person Mom is, even if she often fails to recognize that her daughter is not a kid anymore. Just thinking the best of her in a purring way. This works much better than sucking up to Mom or complimenting her looks. Mothers see right through flattery. Moods tend to be infectious. A purring cat causes another cat to purr. Same thing with mothers. The daughter may not actually get the car, stay tuned for other tools, but at least they both will have a nice moment, which in the long run will help the girl get what she wants. This is something most cats know better than humans. A strong relationship wins more treats. Bearing grudges won't even earn a decent lap. Another purring trick, pretend to be satisfied even when you're not getting exactly what you want. A cat will purr even when her idiot master scratches the wrong part. The cat wants a chin rub, and the fool keeps scratching away at her back. What does the cat do? She purrs, and purrs some more, and then lifts her head meaningfully. We have a lot to learn from cats. Make yourself comfortable. Cats can be mistaken for practicing bad decorum. For example, one who insists on jumping onto the dinner table might not seem all that polite, but perhaps he sees things otherwise. After all, you are eating at the dinner table, and it is rather rude that you have not provided him with a high enough chair. But he is not one to bear grudges. He is perfectly happy to sit on the table to share your turkey. In other words, it can be hard for one species to understand another animal's rules for behavior, and you have to admit human rules are pretty strange. To see how excellent cats can be at the art of fitting in, just look at what happens when you open a small package from Amazon and put the box on the floor. How do cats manage to squeeze into such a tiny cardboard space? And how do they get up high on high shelves and hide behind a thicket of paperback books? They crawl, squeeze, and insinuate like magic. How do they do that? They adapt. They shape their bodies to fit the spaces. We humans fail to think this way often enough. We like to shape our surroundings to us instead of the other way around. This makes us very good architects and terrible campers. Still, thinking more like a cat than a human can actually make us better at decorum with other humans. Imagine a social setting as a small, intimate space. You want to fit into that space. It would be a mistake to treat other people the way we treat our environment, shaping it to fit us rather than adapting ourselves to it. How often do you make that mistake, gathering friends who agree with you most of the time? We live in communities where people look like us and think the same way. We even tend to hire people who seem like us. Most of the time, this approach makes us comfortable. But now and then we find ourselves in an awkward place, such as an office party or a town meeting or a job interview. We have no choice but to try to fit in. The only thing we can do is adapt. You're a guest at a party, and a man who has had one too many wine coolers tries to pick a political fight with you. When he fails to get a rise out of you, he yells that you support the terrorists. You might feel the temptation to argue with him or make a cutting remark about wine cooler abuse. But remember, you're in a social environment, one that contains more than just that drunk man. Think about decorum. In any conflict where there's an audience, the most decorous, Fitting in strategy means winning over the audience, not your attacker. Be like a cat. Show dignity. Act like the better character. The other party guests will see you as one of them, and they'll love you for it. Congratulations! You fit your immediate surroundings. The wise cat examines the box first, then adjusts his body to fit the box. This is not dishonesty, it's adaptability. Decorum is exactly the same thing, adaptability. The adaptable life is an agreeable life. Cat wisdom: use your kitty litter. Good decorum means being discreet. Don't show your messes, and definitely don't show the messes your friends and littermates made.